it always confused me as to why people within our community or just anyone felt like going to get help was a bad thing.
You're supposed to.
What's up, peoples? It's your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And your boy Omega.
In this episode, we are joined by queen, activist, and community leader Nicole Hayden and fellow king and owner of Xiaolin Lotus, William Mitchell, as well as our returning regulars Erica and Richard, as we discuss mental health within our community and its deep-rooted stigmas. As every episode, we want to thank all of you for listening. We truly appreciate you listening to our hearts and minds on varied and difficult topics.
Special thank you goes out to our Patreon subscribers for their support of the show. Every little bit helps us reach our goals to invite more high-profile guests and create bonus content.
And if you want to join in our conversation outside of this cast, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at HaveADrinkCast, and make sure to use that hashtag HADcast.
Remember, this is always a conversation. If you don't agree, you want to voice your opinions, or even suggest a topic for an episode, feel free to join our Discord as well. The link will be in the description.
And please, if you like what we're doing here, share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Hey, if you're feeling adventurous, transcribe our episodes into book form to share with more people. Your referrals mean a lot to us, as that's how we gain more listeners. So,
thank you again.
And get prepared to sit,
think,
and have a drink.
Welcome to Have a Drink Podcast. Enjoy the episode.
We said. Peace. What's up, peoples, and welcome back to another episode of the Have a Drink Podcast, where we invite you to sit, think, and have a drink. We're your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And your boy, Omega.
And joining us at the bar again is our regular brother, Richard. And Erica's joining us again. Thank you. Thank you for joining us at the bar.
Thank you. And we have two extra special guests here representing the great state of Kentucky. We have the great Nicole Hayden, who is the founder and president of Friends of Nicole 50/50 Mentoring Collaboratives Incorporated, an accomplished teacher, motivational speaker, activist, and entrepreneur. Her passions include serving others, being a role model, and mentor. These passions has led Nicole to be crowned Miss Plus America 2014, educating the community with the resources and information needed to build confidence and leadership skills beneficial for transitioning youth to high school, college, and life. And we also have a very dear friend of mine. His name is Mr. Will Mitchell. He is a creative, visionary creator of Xiaolin Lotus. And he is a great, great man, mentor, and friend, as well as a father and martial artist. So we would like to please give a lot of energy, show your love for our special guest. Yes, yes, yes. Hold your drinks up.
Hey.
Pow. Hey.
Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us on the Have a Drink Podcast.
Thank you.
So today we're gonna dive into a much needed topic that we brushed on quite a few episodes ago about mental health, more specifically Black mental health right now. We were kind of, Omega and I, we were discussing it before about the importance of it since the pandemic. A lot of things have gone on. Like, everyone needs a little bit of mental health right now, whether that's taking a break from the grind in order to kind of just meditate and reflect on life, or just get away from the stress that's happening close to this recording right now, which is the election, which by the time this comes out, we'll already know what happened. So
So I've been thinking about this a lot and paying attention to social media a lot, and just looking at things and how people are talking. And a lot of people are so combative, so negative, so down in the dumps, or they're very confrontational right now. And I'm not even talking about just people of color. I mean, all people right now. Everybody is just on pins and needles, on edge. And it made me actually reflect on how things were during shelter in place earlier when it first happened, and how everybody was so used to how life was. We were able to walk around, do us. Then all of a sudden that all got cut short and was like, yo, stay in your house. And then people started to realize how much social interaction was necessary, how much that human to human interaction and just being able to go outside and spend time outside was so important that we forgot. And going through that, and then now we're slowly opening up everything, but now everything is slowly opening up to election time where people are now coming back to being combative again, where everybody's like, you got to choose a side. And it's very, very scary because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, we just went through all of this, from being caught in shelter in place, from going through the protests, the riots, the multiple killings that have been happening, and just all that mental stress and anguish for the last 9 months. It's like, are we even going to be able to get a break? Can we get a break? So the question I'm posing to you guys is, have you guys noticed the shift since shelter in place till now? And what are your thoughts from being on the other side of the nation? Because you guys are currently in Kentucky. And so you guys have a total different viewpoint from us. And Richard has been back and forth from Texas. So it's like he's got another viewpoint. So I just kind of want to get the ideas and get your guys' outlook and viewpoints from there and how that was going on then to now.
Well, for me, it has literally been nonstop since COVID first took place. So we're talking COVID, and then Breonna Taylor, been out on the front line for over 158 days, 59 days now. So for me, I haven't even had the opportunity because COVID came, the Breonna Taylor case came, and then we're still fighting for justice for that, and then voting came. So I've been on the ground running for probably, for months. You know what I'm saying, since COVID. So for me, it's been nonstop. But I can honestly say today, being with the election tomorrow. And so it's like, okay, well, I'll take a 14-day, you know what I'm saying, break. Mind you, I had COVID during this time. Like I can name a whole bunch of other stuff that happened during this time. But today coming home, I just sit there and thought, okay, tomorrow's the election. Okay, now what? How am I, or if I am going to take a break and just, get my mental together? And what does that look like for me when I say I'm going to get my mental together?
Absolutely. Quick, quick rewind. Uh, you mentioned that you had COVID.
I did. I did.
Okay.
We had I mean, of course, like I said, I've literally been on the front line for 158 days. So during that time, there have been several protests, several marches, several people getting arrested. Been here, working directly with Until Freedom and Tamika Mallory when they came down to Louisville. To help assist with, protests and things like that. So just came across a lot of people. We went
Of
to New
course.
York. I went to DC to the protest. And by the time I came back from DC with Al Sharpton, it was like, oh, my friend was like, I have it. And I was like, wait a minute, if you have it, we've been around each other. Some got to give. So I didn't have any symptoms.
Mm.
I didn't have nothing like that. She was like, well, I was like, what are your symptoms? She was like, I can't smell. So I went to the closet, got a thing of bleach, smelled it, and I couldn't smell it. And so when it got tested, it came back positive. Quarantined for 14 days, went back, took a test, and I'm fine.
Wow.
But yeah, all this during the time. So we talking about
Wow.
mental.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
That you when we say can we get a break, you're really like,
Hey,
man, can we get a
hey,
break?
I mean, I couldn't have called on a perfect day. I said, they really want to talk about this? Look, so do they really know what's really been going on? So yeah, yeah. But I've been trying to take, mental days, but not mental like breaks. And I think, after tomorrow, I probably will tap out like literally for about 14
I hope you do.
days.
I really hope you do. I know we kind of had little short conversations in regards to it because she's kind of downplaying what she has been doing, but I'm gonna just let her take the modest road about it. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, she when I say that she's out there, she's like really out there. It's not like, okay, I'm out there for social media. Like, no, I'm out here like for my people. Like, and and we are going to be heard, and justice, will be served. And and she did go to the capital, Frankfurt. You
Oh yeah,
know, yeah, with Jada Pinkett Smith, Common, just to name a couple. She didn't mention that, but amongst other stuff too. But it's all good. Sorry, I had to interject on that.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
No, I'm glad you did, and obviously this shows that you was the perfect person to bring in. Because you have a lot of different viewpoints to offer. Because especially being on the West Coast, being in the Bay Area, we have so many different people that is like, yo, this COVID thing is a hoax, or you have a healthy side of people that don't want to believe in. Then you have those that do. You have those that want to wear their mask. You have those that don't. You have those that are just like like, well, the flu kills everyone. It's like, nah, man, you talk about it, but that's because you haven't gone through it, or you may not have known anybody that's dealing with it. I'm like, you can't really feel like that. I mean, well, I can't tell you how to feel,
Right.
but I mean, it's like, be considerate of others. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for somebody else.
Right.
And I'm just going to say, I am thankful that you are here.
Thank you.
I am thankful that you are able to talk about it in a healthy space. And I'm glad to see that your smile hasn't gone away. And God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll share a little bit of my story. So I was in therapy pre-shelter in place. Um, it was something that I needed to do after getting out of an abusive relationship. So I'm a big proponent of Black folks seeking therapy and support for their mental stability. But just recently, which is why I think Anthony invited me, um, I had an incident with my daughter, a suicidal incident, where, she's really been struggling with shelter in place because she's a very active child. She does all of these different activities. And since we've been kind of shut down and school's been shut down, she's really been isolated and fighting, with feeling abandoned by her friends and, just dealing with the whole weight of, Black Lives Matter and the protests. She's very aware, she's very active. So she has the whole gamut. And so, I just identified that she was struggling and tried to kind of get ahead of it. And about 3 or 4 days after I realized how bad it was, her therapist called me. Mind you, we're sitting in the house together, probably 50 feet apart, and said, "You need to go check on your daughter right now because she's going to kill herself." And I'm literally in the middle of a conference call. So I run down the hall. She's in a state of crisis. And I've got to take her to the hospital and get her checked in 5150. And she was the psych inpatient for 8 days. And now she's home. And, she continues to see her therapist. She has a psychiatrist. She has a whole team supporting her, including me and her dad. And, we have our good days and our bad days. Today, she called me randomly, bawling her eyes out. She's like, "Mom, I just thought about Breonna Taylor and I just want to check on you and make sure you're okay. And, I was trying to call you. You weren't answering your phone, but I was working." And so for me, the mental health struggle I'm having right now isn't even really my own. It's how do I be there for her? How do I be there for others? And then coincidentally, last week, another child had a suicidal incident. I had to call 911 for them because she was in a state of crisis and I didn't know how to reach her family or anything. And that was too soon for me because I was in freaking tears because I'd just gone through this with my daughter. And there was nothing I could do but call 911, call the principal, get her some help. And so I'm tired. Um, I'm just exhausted emotionally and mentally trying to balance all of these things and be strong for all the people who are around me.
Yeah, that's it's really
sense.
heavy to yeah to go through twice, so yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, because I mean, it just shows the weight that not just we as adults are going through, but what kids, what teenagers and kids are going through, young Black teenagers, you know. Um,
Yeah, and I think this highlights for me, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this later, but the stigma of, asking for help and Black folks not getting seeking therapy and not getting the support that we need because we've always been taught to be strong. It took a
Yes,
long time
absolutely.
for my daughter to say, I need to talk to somebody. And I don't know if she would have done that if I hadn't continued to tell her, I'm in therapy, it's helpful for me, et cetera, by setting the example. And even
Right.
then, she was nervous because she was worried about what other people would think about her for saying, I need help and seeking help.
mm,
I think that is what you just said. I think you giving her that example really helped her, and it really gave her a cushion to say, like, because at the end of the day, she's gonna run to mom, in regards to needing help, because mom is always gonna be there. And you opening that door to her, I really do believe that did save her. Because I think what she said is absolutely correct. In the Black community, we have. I think the problem that we have had is that, like, how can I put it? Like, we are loving people to the core, right? Just you think about all of the things that our ancestors went through, and just from Jim Crow to segregation. I mean, even slavery, all of these things, and no matter what was in front of us, we still had the time to love, be loving people. But on the flip side of it, we focus so much more on survival than love, if that makes sense. So back to what Erica was saying about being strong. It's like you think about like our grandparents, our great grandparents, how you had to keep your head up, when you're walking down the street, dealing with racism, and don't show no sign of weaknesses. Don't cry in public, don't do this, don't do that, and that's a survival tactic, right? Because you're not trying to show weakness. But then what ends up happening is, and this is just my opinion, feel free to interject anybody, that we kind of forget to love ourselves. We kind of forget to love ourselves because we don't, because we so focused on surviving. We focus on, making sure everybody else is okay, but we're not worried about ourselves. And when we talk about behavioral health, it's, well, at least now that generational curse is slowly starting to break, right? But once upon a time, even 5 years ago, you can't say, "Oh, I'm going to see a therapist." They're like, "Oh, that's some white stuff. Like that's what white people do." And there's nothing wrong with therapy at all. In fact, as far as my therapist that I've been seeing for a few months, ironically, Nicole appointed me to her. I reached out to Nicole because I was going through a moment where I guess you could say I was going through withdrawals because, like I didn't have, because due to COVID, I didn't have my outlets in terms of self care because you had to stay in, you had to, you know, quarantine, social distancing. So everything that I was doing in terms of self care, from training, from going to the gym, from a relationship I had at the time, or just, doing things with my children, like all that stuff became obsolete. And it's like, okay, what do I do? And then once everything starts to wash away, And then you think about the Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all this stuff is happening like at the same time. And then you add social media into the mix, and you're seeing it over and over and over and over. And normally when we see situations like this, we becomes desensitized from it. However, it was the opposite. It really intensified everything. And and personally for me, just from depleting all of my self-care um, activities, which I call my deposits, eventually it became depleted. Now I've had withdrawals, you know, and I remember I'm just like, yo, I am not good. I knew it. I felt it. And even a close cousin of mine said, he's like, yeah, you're not good, and I remember Nicole, she was blogging one day and she was speaking about her therapist. And anybody that knows Nicole, she's always a very, very busy person, always on the go. But thankfully, she, no matter how busy she's been, she's always answers, always. And I told her, I was like, hey, remember that therapist you said? And she's like, yeah. I mean, she gave me a reference like within minutes, and I told her, I'm like, it has to be a black therapist, and I prefer a woman.
Mm.
I was just about to ask you that.
Can you explain why that specific?
You know, so many things, so many things. But to answer your question, you know, um, I I'm a strong believer in black women get stuff done.
Mm.
Black women are the most caring, the most nurturing, most transparent, most expressive. However, they the most unappreciative in terms of us as people, including black men. We don't give them their roses enough. We don't defend them enough. Um, with it, whether it's from ourselves, whether if it's outside of our community. In the midst of all that, they still have the strength to push forward and make stuff happen. And typically, whenever you ask a black woman, how do you do it? Most of the time, the response is, I don't have a choice.
Mm.
You know? And sometimes I think to myself, dang, I want to be that strong. Like, I think I'm a strong individual. I'm a very strong willed individual, but I want that kind of strength, you know? And did I mention a nurturing? You know, I have a very strong black mother, very nurturing, black mother. I was around my aunts a lot when I grew up. So, in terms of bigging up the black women is a very natural thing for me. So, anything that they say or they feel about something, I'm very attentive to it. Um, so, with that being said, to answer your question, it was only natural for me to get a therapist who happens to be a black woman because I'm going to be more attentive to what she has to say, opposed to a black man. That's just me.
And you
That
know what's
was
funny,
awesome.
William? Like I remember you inboxing me that too. That's crazy. But my therapist now, I feel like I have to go see a new therapist because I don't know, just it's a different time. What the space that I was in when I originally, would see my
Mhm.
therapist and the space that I'm in now with everything that has been on, I really don't think that she could relate. to what it's almost to say if you ain't been in this, you wouldn't even be able to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of those of us who are in this, you know, there was no blueprint to, everything we have been through with Breonna Taylor and protesting and getting on the front lines and setting up protests and marches. We hadn't seen that since the civil rights movement. So there was no blueprint for this. So going to a therapist and talking about the things that I'm experiencing and witnessing doing this, it's almost like if it ain't somebody who's been through the civil rights or something who can relate to some of the stuff that
Yeah.
I'm going through, boo, you can't help me. There's nothing like the stories that I'm about to tell you and the experiences that I'm about to tell you. You're not even going to be able to, you know what I mean? Relate to that. You can't give me no pointers on that. So I don't even want to waste your time and especially my money. But what I'm finding myself right now wanting is more so of a spiritual advisor. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who is a little seasoned. You know what I mean? Somebody that is an elder that either, have witness, experience, or, something to do with the civil rights or just some injustice that has went on. You know what I'm saying, within the community. Because I feel like the space that I'm in right now, I don't think my own therapist would be able to assist me in anything. Now that's just look. That's just one pillar. That's just one pillar of an onion. You know what I mean? On top of everything, yes. But right now, I feel like it's so much trauma that has took place during this time. Not even like not only the trauma that we're dealing with right now, but the trauma that I've dealt with as a young Black girl. And now that very one thing that I hated, I feared was the white woman. That's a whole nother session. But I'm just saying, like, seriously, like the things that I ran from as a young Black girl in middle school or high school, being told like, you're too much, you're too extra, tone it down. Now this, like just the stigmas that these white teachers will put in young Black girls who had personality, who had, you know what I mean, who had confidence. They would try to, make your confidence like that was too much for them. You know what I mean? And then as we grew up and went to college and things like that, and in life, we still experienced that. And so sometimes we suppressed it. And even with me, I suppressed it by being the very person they said I couldn't be. You know what I mean? Just always striving to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be an entrepreneur. I'll work for myself. I will never ask you white women for nothing. I will never, you know what I'm saying? I ain't bowing down to nobody. And then you got, boom, I'm right in the heart, in the center of, you know what I mean, some injustice with a Black female that could have been me. What do I do with that? You know what I mean? Then came, everybody in the city with the white women and the white guilt. And then, feeling like they want to help. But I'm like, you don't really want to help me. You feel guilty. You ain't, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all that comes up. So then you like, Dad, why am I still feeling like that? And
Right.
you realizing that some of those traumas that are happening now have been childhood traumas that you never really dealt with. You know, you never really dealt with white women. You never really dealt with, you know what I'm saying? How they made you feel as a little girl. So you suppressed that for so long. Now it's right in your face, sis. I mean, right now, with Trump and everything, it's right in your face. How you gonna handle that?
Right.
How you gonna change that? How you gonna make sure another little girl doesn't experience the same thing that you felt? You know what I mean? So that, so when we talk about therapists and mental health, it's like I feel like right now, just me personally, I want to talk to an elder more so than, you know what I mean, a therapist, somebody who can give me some spiritual guidance to deal with these traumas so that they won't carry on. Because I don't want them to carry on. I don't want to continue to feel this way about white women. Just I'm like, well, damn, am I a racist at this point? It's built up so much. You like, well, damn, I
Can I ask
might
you,
be a daggone race.
can I ask you
And
a
it hurts
question?
because you don't want to be that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that. But hell, they don't give you no other choice. It's like they in your face with it. What are you supposed to do with that? How are you supposed to shift that? And I definitely ain't ready to come in here and talk to no white therapist or no white woman because she can't help me. She, I never got into that. Like, that just I was, but the people that I have referred the agents, the therapy agency to, they love it. They would prefer a white woman over a black woman. But me, it's like, no ma'am, no ma'am, you can't relate.
Now, representation matters. Like it really does matter, because there's one thing to have empathy, but it's another to understand what that person's going through. You know, whether if you are a black man, you're a black woman, or if the person is trans, or if they consider themselves a non-binary or Muslim, whatever the case may be. You know, just having some form of common, I don't want to say common interest, but um, being a part of something and having someone identify with it, you know, really does make things so much better. This time everything is so, I feel like it's much better than when we grew up as kids, because like being black growing up, like it was a little tough for me, because like we talk about cancel culture, but cancel culture was like when we was kids, because like you had to, we was like so monolithic. Like you have to dress a certain way, you have to, talk a certain way, you have to listen to like type of music, type of movies, like it was like we confused. Well, I'm not gonna get to that part yet. I'll do that later. But we like that. It was like this like list that in order for you to be black or in order for you to be down, like this is what you have to do. And if you don't do these things, then you're not black enough, you're not man enough, you're not straight enough, you're just not enough.
Not
And
enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
I know you good. No, you're fine. And so, with that being said, it truly creates it's a little heavy for me a little bit. Uh, a complex. It does create some form of anxiety. It does create um, makes you feel inadequate.
Yes.
You know, like am I like I love my people so much, but do they love me?
That's it.
You know, you know, and it's a very tough thing. It's just like me living in Louisville, Kentucky. It's I've dealt with those things. Like far as in middle, far as elementary school, it was like pretty diverse. But like when you're in middle school, when you used to like listen to, I don't know, maybe um, Slipknot, Godsmack,
Yes.
Daft Punk,
I
EDM music.
was right there
Um,
with you.
you know what I'm saying? Even Bastard Boys or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like
Corn.
not just yeah, corn, like not just Cash Money or No Limit or
Right.
Tupac, right? So it's like so soon as you like they find out you listen to those things, oh man, you white or you quirky, they confuse quirkiness with queerness.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And
Yes.
and sometimes like I had to use like my martial arts as a way of like a shield of armor saying like, yo, don't mess with me. Like, oh, they'd be like, oh, he knows martial arts. Don't mess with him. So it was kind of like I had to use that as a deterrent from, from everything because it was already bad enough being stigmatized, and I'm not going to speak on in terms of intimacy in terms of women is concerned. That's a whole nother subject.
I want to jump in on that
Yeah.
note because I like how you said you use your martial arts as a deterrent,
Mhm.
right? For me, my martial arts was my acceptance. That's where I found my acceptance. And I say that because I mean, I mean, for those that don't know, I've never really ever been like not accepted. Everybody has always had love for me, has always been really kind and open to me. But for me, as Anthony Gooch, my
Right.
acceptance came on the mat. My acceptance came from my master instructors from that, because all I wanted was certain attention, and I had my own things that I was dealing with. So it's very interesting that that was your vehicle for deterrence, to keep people away, or just to kind of like, like, just don't mess with me, like I'm good, don't mess with me. Whereas for me, it was like, that's where I felt comfortable. I love Black people, I love my people, I love my cousins, I love my family. But the ones that made it hard for me were sometimes my family, my cousins. They're like, oh man, you do all that kung fu stuff, oh man, you think you bad, you think you this. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. Just come check me out, or just talk to me. Or everybody looked at me weird because I didn't play football, or I didn't do that, whereas all my brothers played football, everybody played baseball, everybody did that. I was good at them, but that's not my vehicle. So I was just dealing with that acceptance issue, you know and then not always being around enough Black people for me either, outside of just my family. So feeling like I'm still not enough. Like, even though I'd be at church and still be able to feel like I could relate, but when I'm gone from church, whether it was just that Sunday or that revival or whatever, I'm back with a bunch of others, still not feeling that acceptance. And it's funny because I even, you're saying you don't want to talk about relationships, but it was like, I've even had people be like, well, how come you don't like no Black girls? Why aren't you ever around no Black girls? I'm like, look around me. Where are the Black girls?
Yeah.
And the few that I do find, they either don't like me, don't have time for me, or they think I'm weird.
Oh man, you speaking to the choir on that one.
So it's like, so what do I do? But then as I got older, I started to understand and appreciate the Black woman even more, and
Amen.
realize that maybe I needed to fight harder or look or dig deeper. Not taking anything from my spouse now, but I'm just saying, like, just in that respect, is I could have done more
Right.
if that was more for me. And I'm saying all that to say this: I never realized until as of late the plight of the Black woman. I've never understood all of what she went through. Of course, I was raised by my mother, a single mom. I hate to say single mom because my dad was around, just not in my household. And I had a relationship with my father, but so she wasn't raising me solely by herself. That has, but whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But anyways, to see my mother crying at night, trying to figure out what she's gonna do, still sits with me to this day. To see my mom be smiling and happy one moment, and then in the blink of an eye, burst into tears or be angry or yelling at me due to frustration or whatever's going on, and I don't understand, weighs on me. And now to hear what Nicole has been going through, has gone through, to hear and to witness what my cousin is going through and has gone through, it tears me apart. It really does, because now I'm starting to see it for what it is. To talk to my older sisters, I have two older sisters, and to see and hear what they went through growing up tears me apart. And I feel like I was putting my blinders on by submerging myself with my martial arts and my activities. I put everything else in the world in the background. I wasn't not being Black, but I was being me, doing what I had to do. To where whatever everybody else was going through, I didn't care. I was competing, I was performing, I was traveling, I was doing me, and I was having a wonderful time. Not realizing my sisters are hurting behind me. My brothers are hurting right next to me. And the reason why I said my sisters are hurting behind me, because I'm so busy running away from them, thinking they didn't care about me. I just left them in the background.
But Omega, I mean, you say that when you say behind you, but honestly, I think the system has, made, help create that in you. So that is not, solely, what I mean, your fault. Whatever you were doing to try to escape, you know what I'm saying? What was going on in your world, or what was going on, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it's just like systematic oppression for real. Like, you know what I mean? We're taught to think that way. You
Yeah.
know, men, it's sad to say, but black families are taught to treat, you know, cousins like that are different because they have made us to conform of what black is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We have been conditioned to believe, the image of what black is, and whether that's to play football, basketball, make it, have the women to act this certain way, are separating the men and the women have to be strong. You know what I mean? Like all that plays a huge role, you know what I mean? Which makes us, beautiful and diverse and unique. But at the same time, a lot of these feelings and the way we were brought up was because we was told to do it like that.
Yeah.
It's been generations of to say, well, in order to not, if you don't want to play football, or you don't want to play soccer, either put it in an instrument, or you know what I'm saying, or, do other things like we, and if you do that, that's not black enough. If you
Mm.
do that, then you're acting white. You know what I mean? So like right now, I'm arguing with my 9-year-old nephew because he didn't went to class and told on the live on what we call NTI, the live classroom, virtual classroom. He didn't went up because I didn't took him to a protest and stuff, and he went on there and basically told the teacher he's in a class of about 5 or 6 students, only black boy, and he tells the teacher they talking about some news. I think every day before class they say what goes on in the news or something like that, and he goes, "Policemen can kill a white man and don't go to jail, but police kill black men. They killed Breonna Taylor and they didn't even go to jail." You know,
Mm.
like, and it's like the teacher's like, like what? And so I kind of overheard it, but I just wanted to hear, what he had to say. And she was trying to explain to him, like, John, I'm sorry that happened. He was like, say her name, Breonna Taylor. I said, look, even though he's been to the protest with me, so he's in there trying to convince the class to say her name.
Mm.
But at the same time, I had to acknowledge the way he felt, and I had to have a conversation with him, have a conversation with him about it. But again, what he sees,
Mm.
you know, because at first he was coming to say whatever teacher told him, if you say black girl magic, then it's racist.
What?
Wait a minute. Wait a
Yeah,
Hold
minute.
up.
Hold. Wait a.
conferences with teachers, conferences with principals, all of it. Because his teacher, but that, again, just what I said, as a little girl, a teacher is that first person who helped shape and mold your thought process and the way you think. A teacher told him, by her own opinion and biases, that if you say black girl magic, then you're racist because you're not including all the girls. All the girls are magic.
You might as well say all lives. That's like an all lives
Oh,
matter equivalent.
yeah.
But this is a teacher.
Now,
So
I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to say this. From what you just said right now is why I'm in education today. For what you said right now is why I work in elementary level school, because I need them to see a
yes,
black male doing
yes,
something positive and doing something that they need early, because
yes.
majority of people don't ever see us or will never have us as an educator in their
Mm.
lifetime, and that's why I do it. I'm so sorry. I had to say that. Continue,
No,
please.
it's true. No, I'm with you. That's why I have a mentoring program too, because I feel like our black girls and to see more black women, people that look like us, people can share the same experiences, but just be open minded. You know what I mean? Just for to what's going on and be on what your kids are being taught. You know what I mean? There's so many levels, to that when it comes to that. But I'm just saying, like the teachers and things like that being the first people who are our role models and what they look like.
No,
How
definitely.
Absolutely. What you touched on, I mean, all of you have kind of touched on things that we've talked about here on the show. Colorism within our own communities, it's part of that systemic racism, meant to divide us and oppress us even further so that we're not able to build each other up and raise each other up to where we should be, you know. And as well as Will, you said about the necessity of loving yourself, because I can 100% resonate with everything you were saying. I was just like, yes, Slipknot. Oh my god, I thought I was the only one. I had a wristband and everything. But yeah, like it it's all of this stuff, all of our history, all of these things, all these struggles that we're going through that puts that added pressure onto us and creates this increased necessity for us taking care of our mental health.
Mm.
It was actually interesting because I was going to ask everyone, like, what was your relationship with mental health pre, shelter in place? Like, what was it like? I mean, just from the little bits and pieces of stories alone, I mean, we kind of get a sense of what it's like. But I mean, just within our communities, how we've even experienced, the being in high school, how Erica, you're saying your daughter being in school and fearing that stigmatism of talking to a mental health professional, of being called weird or being called a name. It always confused me as to why, people within our community or just anyone felt like going to get help was a bad thing.
You're supposed to go to church. That's where your help came
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
That's where you're supposed to go. That's where your help came from. Your help came from your church.
And this is where I'm gonna definitely step in if that's okay.
Oh, snap! This is miraculously his throat works. All right.
We'll just make it quick.
Take your time,
no,
brother. We love you here.
And thank you, Omega. You hit on it now. Mind you, loving the conversation. You y'all doing a great job. But grew up in the church, literally born in it. The stigma was that we gonna pray over it, right? And as I got older, I realized, okay, prayer is cool, but you also need to seek professional help. You know what I'm saying? And that was a conversation that I never heard, never had until I got older. For example, if y'all haven't seen it, I highly recommend the movie Red Hook Summer. Spike Lee joint flew under the radar, hit me directly in my soul because that very similar story to me, as in you in the church, everything is fine, but also people have issues and it's okay, right? We all got issues. I'll be the first to put mine out there. You know what I'm saying? We all have issues, but like we need more than prayer. You know what I'm saying? And me acknowledging something's wrong doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't mean there's a demon in me. No, like your brain is the most powerful muscle in your brain. You know what I'm saying? And like everybody has a check engine light on. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's check engine light looks a little different. I know mine. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyways, said that in so many words. One thing I've done, I feel like we have so many conditioned responses. For example, how you doing, brother Omega? Blessed and highly favored in the Lord. No, that's not the case. One thing I did, I was just being honest with people. Brother White, how you doing? I'm okay, man. I'm just doing okay. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you're honest about it, I mean, mind you, you can feel away that's fine and dandy. I feel like when you're honest about it, like that lets people know, oh, this person's not doing okay. Let me see how I can help. You know what I'm saying? Hey, or let's talk about it. Is everything all right? And of course, everybody's different. So, you can either be open up to that or like be closed off. But I had no issue with letting people know how I really felt. And then there were some older folk in the church who caught on to that. They're like, don't do that. Why not? Don't you want to be honest? Like, you want me to lie about it in church? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be like, oh, yeah, everything's great. You know what I'm saying? I'm good, Brother Jones. How are you? You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And so I think I'm glad we live in a time now where we can have more open and honest conversation in comparison to 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. But it's still a hesitancy there that I'm noticing within the church when it comes to mental health or just even the conversation of mental health.
It's
Beautiful.
so funny that you say that because do you know how I started when I decided I needed to go to therapy? There was this lady I used to work with. We used to work together every day, but I had moved on and I didn't see her every day. And so I would pass her in the hallway and she would ask me, oh, hi, how you doing? And I would be like, I'm good, just keep moving. And I saw her 3 or 4 times over the course of like a couple months. And the last time I saw her, she asked me how I was doing. And I said, yeah, I'm cool, whatever. And she stopped me and she said, I have worked with you and observed you from afar for many years. You are not your chipper, happy, normal self. How are you doing? And I was like, I'm okay. But when I walked away, I was like, dang, I'm not okay. And that triggered me to go see somebody. And so you're right. We have these default answers where it's like, I'm good, whatever we do it pushing, we do it moving. because that's what we're taught to do. Go home, pray about it, read the Bible, whatever, go to church. And we just go along to get along forever, forever. And we never, I don't think we ever stop to be like, am I really okay? Am I not okay? And ask those hard questions to ourselves, because what happens in this house stays in this house, which is, you just don't talk about what happens outside, what impacts your life, what's changing you, your childhood traumas, all of those other things. You don't put your business out in the street. I think every Black family was taught, like, don't be telling my business. Whose mom said that? Everybody's mom said that. And
Absolutely.
you default to, well, dang, I ain't telling my business, but you need
You
to
know
be
Lisa
telling
Hall.
somebody your business. You need to be, because we're not okay.
That's factual. And that came from my very first best friend, my cousin Erica. Yes, I claimed it. And the reason why I'm jumping in on this one is because I was thinking about it earlier. How many of y'all got, and this is, I really want to answer from everybody on the panel, how many of y'all got hit and then told to shut up before I give you something to cry about?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Now, and the reason why I bring that up is that is our daily. We are getting hit every day and we want to cry. We want to shout. We want to express how we're feeling. But we're told to shut up before I really give you something to cry about.
Say it louder.
You know, and it hurts. It hurts. It's hard. It's hard to express that, right? It's like the Black woman has gone through so much and they are hurting. They could use help. I'm not going to say they need help. They could use help, but we are so busy hurting ourselves, we don't make the time to help them. We as Black men need to learn how to help ourselves as well as help others. We need to be of service to others. If you listen to our last episode, humanity, that's what I said, was being of service. That is what humanity is. And I feel like we need to understand we need help, not just for ourselves, but for each other. We need help. And that is what that's what those therapists and other people are there for, is to help. And that is okay. Helping is okay. The only time you should ever look down on another person is when you're picking them up. That's it.
It was just interesting because thinking about it, even listening to our conversation, something that I remember from our conversation during Imbibe with a Black Woman, actually Erica's first episode, uh, where when we talk about, the default setting in which or role that Black women have fallen into or have been pushed into because of this, as caretakers, as nurturers, as all of these things. So William, listening to you speak, and the reason why, like your reasoning and desire for having a Black woman as your chosen therapist, it just shows that it still plays into that same kind of narrative, just because this is our programming, and that's where we've felt home. You Black mother raised by one, you feel that nurturing, loving, sensation. But what we could really do, I feel like, to take that one step further in order to continue to help our Black women, is by being Black men and helping each other as well. Not just helping Black women, but helping Black men get through those hard times, being nurturing Black men, being loving Black men, being strong Black men for each other, not just for other men, not just for other women, but for other people in general. Like we rely so much on our women in the community to get stuff done. Whereas if well, really what we could be doing is being like, all right, I'm gonna lift this up too. Like, what? Okay, you got that, or I'm gonna take these and let's go. Like, throw it on my back. This is not a solo fight. This is not a solo struggle. This is not a solo mission for anything that we have to do within taking care of ourselves. Especially when it comes to mental health, because what is the biggest stigma amongst men in general? We've said it hundreds upon thousands of times on this show, which is probably annoying to hear over and over again, to beat a dead horse, but it's necessary, which is that men have hard time opening up and sharing their emotions and their feelings with each other, with their partners, with people in life in general. Like you hear us on this show getting raw, getting emotional, sharing our hearts and our minds and our feelings, with each other, with the world, with the podcast, just everybody gets to hear this. So we trying to show that it is possible to do so. And it's also possible to do it in a way where you don't have to tear someone else down just because they're seeking that kind of comfort, that kind of solidarity. We in the early episodes we said women get together and they workshop issues, they workshop problems, they workshop things. And men in relationships, sometimes it gets overbearing and hard, and they put so much weight on their partner to hold the weight of their emotional trauma and baggage, that it ends up breaking down the relationship to its core. Whereas what we should be because we don't take the same approach as what women do, where they workshop it with their friends. They will take the issue of my man is shit, but let me tell you why. Like, and this is what happened. And then
Why I got to be all that?
Right?
Like he was fucking up again today. Let me tell you why. And they're like, oh, you know what, girl, you know what you should do? You should talk to him like this. Or it's like, I understand what you're going through. Man, that is rough. Girl, that is rough. I see you. I hear you. And you have the ability to unload that sort of weight onto your friends in order to collectively come together and like lift each other up and be like, you got this, you can do this. Like, you love that man. He's good. He's just being stupid right
That is
now.
not what we
He just
say,
be dumb.
okay? That is
But
not what we
like,
say.
I
I'm gonna
don't
need
know.
you to stop trying to control our narrative. We be like, girl, come help me move. Come, he needs to call Tyrone. That's what we say.
Right. Well, see, I'm not a part of those conversations. So like,
I'm just
but
playing.
like,
I'm just
Oh,
playing.
but
that's
like
hilarious. Oh,
on
that's
some
hilarious.
real shit. Like, but we don't have those conversations at all. I mean, obviously we do,
Can
but
I plug a
like,
resource though, as you're because you just
please.
took me. So BEAM. BEAM stands for Black Emotional and Mental Health. BEAM Collective. It is a resource, an awesome resource that is basically a national directory of Black mental health um, therapists, psychiatrists, and others. So you can go in there, type where you're from, and it will show you all of the Black professionals, mental health professionals. They also have workshops and work groups and other things. It's a collective. So I encourage you to check that out. That's where I found my daughter's Black female therapist in the Sacramento area. And it helped me, gives me stuff to read and other things. So check that out. People who are listening, if you're looking for a Black therapist, that's how I found mine.
That's beautiful. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that.
Oh, speaking of mental health resource, I have a creative friend who she actually has an app which deals with mental health, Black mental health as well. Her name is Jasmine Pierre. She's actually traveled, across the country and actually had plenty of articles written in regards to her app.
What's her name again?
Her name is Jasmine Pierre. Jasmine with no E.
Jasmine Pierre. The Safe Place.
That's it.
Today, you know, if we were obviously if we were all working in our or
Oh yes. Oh yes. We got 3 businesses.
Well, as he mentioned, I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. So I have, I guess I could talk more so about my mentorship program, which I mentor 50 girls for 50 hours for 1 year. And so with that, we do a variety of different activities focusing on like global education, taking girls to Africa. So this is be my second time taking a cohort to Africa. Was supposed to be planned for this summer, but we're probably looking more so to 2020. So you can go on our website. We are accepting any type of donations to help the girls go to Africa. And we also have like t-shirts and confidence journals and things like that on the site as well. And that's 5050 mentoring collab.org.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I have a firearms training business. So out in the Sacramento area, you can come and learn to shoot with me, get your CCW, learn about home defense and how best to protect you and your loved ones. I go by Cali Gun Lady. You can check the website out, gunlady.net. I work with a team of 2 other trainers, and I'm really, really busy. So if you're trying to get in, better contact me soon. Um, on the website, there's a direct link to my phone number, my email, and then there's also a chat option.
And how do you spell that website for us?
Gunlady, GUNLADY.net. You're going to see a bunch of pictures of other people. I'm in the process of having it redone because I took over someone else's business. But don't be alarmed, it is mine.
You are the defensive firearms instructor. I love
I
it.
am.
So I have a streetwear brand called Xiaolin Lotus, which Anthony has been very, very, very supportive of, which I am deeply grateful and appreciative and honored for. So this is actually my hat. This is my T-shirt. It's a blackout tee I have. So right now, I only have my logo shirts currently. Right now, I am working on something else that is a little FTP esque, I guess you can say, but it really correlates in regards to the brand. So Shaolin Lotus is a streetwear brand that is inspired by martial arts philosophy and pop culture. So our motto is trust yourself, fear no one. Because you actually think about it, in just in terms of the process of a lotus, the lotus is going through muddy dirt, water, and which is a representation of your trials and tribulations that you're going through in life as you're rising up to whatever it is that you are fighting for. Hence the whole martial arts aspect of it. And once the flower rises up from the surface, it is the representation of showing the true beauty of the individual triumphing over the obstacles that are faced upon them. So long as you trust in yourself, you have nothing else to fear. So that's the direction I was going with it. And another thing I am working on, this is the first time I'm actually bringing it up, but I am currently in the process of creating a program strictly for young women of color. I am calling it Protect Our Queens Project. So it is going to emphasize on, comprehensive self-defense program for women, and also yoga. So far as self-defense and health and wellness, and also knowing what to look for in certain situations. I feel like as a martial artist and as a black man, it is very and a creative to become part of the solution, protecting black and brown women. It is very, very, very important to do so. And God has given me a skill set and creativity of providing a solution to something that I feel like it's not going to be the end all be all, but is going to help add an extra piece to the puzzle in regards to restoring the black family household. This is how I look at it. They say it's a man's world, but women make the world go round.
And we're back. Thank you for joining us for that BOB. That was beautiful. Thank you to our wonderful guests.
You know what's the most beautiful thing is everything was about a service to others. If you notice, if you really boil down the core of what every business, all 4 businesses that were just talked about, or 4 people.
Do we have a final question we want to leave out on?
Yeah.
Is this going to be to guests or to Discord?
This is going to be to our guests and to our Discord, but I'm going to say this to our guests. I'm actually asking you to please respond in our Discord so our fans and our followers can get to know you, meet you, and we'll possibly, hopefully, drum up more interest and be able to communicate with you guys more. And, we want to build this whole unity thing. But my question is this here: what are you doing to protect your mentals, to improve your mentals, and also what can you do to help the mentals of others around you? Thank you, and a shout out to everybody in our Patreon. Shout out to everybody that's our loyal listeners and our new listeners. And I just want to tell you, even though we've been very Black focused, it goes way beyond that. We're human focused. We want everybody to understand something. We have to protect our community. We have to focus on our community so the rest of the world can start to improve. Because if we don't take care of our own home, how are we going to do any better outside of it?
Because
So-
all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Right
You know
there.
what you do.
So I said all that to say thank you for your patronage. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us.
Also, if you guys want to join in on our conversation outside of here, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Have a Drink Cast, and be sure to use the hashtag HADcast because we won't be able to see it any other way. And we'd like to, get that hashtag out there, have it be used. If you look at all our posts, it's on there, it's out there. We got you showing love. Yeah. And listeners, please be on the lookout. We will be releasing merch very soon. We have a few different pieces of merchandise coming. I mean, I know you've seen us drinking out of our Have a Drink Cast cups, our tumblers. We also have some Have a Drink stickers. All made by HBY Craft and Things. You can go check them out. They're on Etsy, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram as well. It's been great working closely, making this merch, getting this stuff out there. Soon we'll have other varying types of cups you can consume your beverages in, as well as dare I say, for the patrons, if you want to see. Here is our Have a Drink hoodie. It's got that premium kind of material. It's gonna be amazing. It's so fun. It's so comfortable. Be sure to with the case of the 2020, be sure to order a size larger than you normally would. Just because when I ordered this one, it was a much tighter than what I was expecting. So yes, I implore you to do that. You can check that out by being a patron for 3 months or more. They'll send you a free gift depending on the tier you're in. You'll see the gift there. And I mean, if you've already been a patron, please be expecting a few gifts coming your way. So yeah.
And I really want to say a huge, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to Miss Nicole, to Miss Erica, Mr. William, and Mr. Richard. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. And we know it's so late on your end, but I want to say thank you. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to have you guys here with us this evening. You guys have taken this conversation to another level, and I am deeply honored to have shared the same space with you online. Hopefully we can share the same space in person one day and do this again.
Love it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Salute.
Thank
Y'all
you.
be easy.
All right, it's about that time.
Yes.
All right, I implore everyone to raise your glasses.
I done
Ladies.
switched glasses.
Ladies, gentlemen, listeners at home, everyone in between, I want to thank y'all for another successful episode of the Have a Drink podcast, and we'll invite you back to sit, think, and have a drink. That's been us. Peace.
Peace.